Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Well, we've survived the weekend. I'm a year older, yay 33, and I'm here with Federico tonight.
How you doing, guys?
I know, a little bit out of sequence. You expected Jason. Well, Jason has the night off, and tonight Federico and I are talking watches and answering questions. We've got some this or that. We have some questions you forwarded, and Fed and I are going to be doing our best to monitor the live chat box in real time and answer your questions. So, Fed, for the short version, what do they have to do?
Well, I think you were going to say Girard Perregaux or Zenith, right?
And if you want to see Girard Perregaux and Zenith reviewed extensively, Watch You Want Watch Reviews, my new channel on YouTube.
That's exactly what you have to do. Go and subscribe for the best reviews under 6 or 7 minutes on YouTube.
Fun stuff and quick hits. Okay, Fed, we are doing this or that, and it is the battle of the brands tonight. We have two automotive-themed watches, not co-branded, broadly automotive-themed, both chronographs, both from great manufacturers, and they're actually not that far from each other. So we have Girard Perregaux and Zenith. Let's go over the first. Girard Perregaux Competizione Stradale. 2016 Girard Perregaux novelty.
Yes, it is.
42mm stainless steel, modular chronograph, but a Girard Perregaux GP3300 base with display case back. DD vertical clutch module, retail $9,400 US. What's your impression of this watch before we go to the Challenger?
Beautiful look.
Okay.
The movement's too small for the case, as is anything with the Girard Perregaux 3000 base caliber. And $9,400 is a little rich.
It's a challenge, certainly. I will say this. $9,400, and the Challenger is going to come in under that figure.
Well, looking at your notes, I can already tell what it is, and it certainly is.
Yep. From the house of Zenith, from the land of Georges Favre-Jacot, we have the Zenith Chronomaster El Primero Classic Cars. Which classic cars? All of them.
Yeah.
That was the theme of Zenith for 2016. And this is a wonderful rendition with a beautiful rhodiumed, dark rhodiumed treatment of Geneva waves on the dial side of a watch.
You know, I think it's very unique looking. I may actually prefer the look of the Girard Perregaux,
Really?
But all things considered, I mean, you should probably keep going with the specs, but all things considered, I don't see how Zenith doesn't take this one.
Okay, so now, a couple of things about this watch. First of all, like I said, it's not any particular brand. This isn't like the Land Rover series. This is just for classic cars generally, and it's not event-themed, so it doesn't associate itself with the Toro Auto or the Lancia Stratus reunion. This is a handsome watch that you could love even if you're not into cars. I find that hard to believe if you're into watches, but all the same.
That is true.
42mm in stainless steel. On paper, they should fit the same. I will say the Zenith is a bit more compact because of the lug shape. And I will also say that the Zenith with the El Primero caliber 400B inside has a longer power reserve, a higher beat rate, and it's just a slimmer watch top to bottom because of the lack of a modular attachment. And also tough to top at $6,700 US.
I mean, it's an El Primero with a high beat rate. It's the most iconic chronograph movement out there. It's $3,000 less than the Girard Perregaux. Honestly, Tim, I don't even know what there is to discuss, like, when it comes to this. For me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think the most competitive entry in the 2016 just Competizione line was probably the Circuito, the composite case, all black honeycomb dial. The problem is, to bring that contender into this battle, all of a sudden you're dealing with a 5-figure price. It's a little over $10,000. I think at that point, although aesthetically and technically you've got a compelling alternative to the Zenith, you're also talking a watch that costs the better part of, $4,500 more.
Yeah, is Mr. Calce still CEO of Girard Perregaux?
No, I don't believe he. Actually, you know what? I think he is. Actually, I think he is. Yeah, he left Quorum and now he's with GP.
Well, Mr. Calce, you got to look at those prices, my man.
Great watch, though. We love the look of it, especially with the black dial.
That is true. Some of the most beautiful watches out there, and obviously on the secondhand market, they'll be picked up for a steal. which is unfortunate. But I think, for the look, I really love it. I just, it's hard to look past the Zenith.
I will say this, Fed, because of the cleanliness of the dial, with the combination of the white print, the red shocks, and the black base, you would probably, based on what you said about the Zenith, you'd probably say that you prefer the look of the GP.
I do.
You prefer the spec and the history of the El Primero.
You nailed my thoughts exactly. I think the GP is a very handsome watch, though.
I'll give Zenith this. They did fix the issue with the hour register on this particular iteration of the El Primero. You can now read all 3 registers without compromise of the scales. Okay, so guys, we are going to be answering your questions live and in real time, as O.J. Watley was always fond of saying. For now, though, I've got some questions that required a little bit of a breakdown between me and Fed. We had to consider these and do our best. Starting with Julian S., who asks, I currently own an Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch with Hesselite, so the classic Moonwatch, and a Junkers 6256 with an ETA 2824-2 and a black dial, both on original steel bracelets. So you know what his collection looks like.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. He's looking at divers. He says, I plan to use the watch for actual swimming.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah, because that basically rules out any true vintage reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, he's got the Tudor Black Bay, retail of $3,675. He wants the Black Bay, steel, black dial, blue bezel. He's considering this against a watch that, frankly, is not in the same price class. Panerai Luminor PAM 510 8 days manual wind, which is $6,600 retail. So he says both of these speak to him, and the 510 is about as big a watch as he can wear.
44 mil, right?
So he's pushing the upper limit, but I do think this is an appropriate watch for any occasion, so it is a good only watch choice, even though it'll be complementing his collection. So he's tried on the new Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 2, Basel World debut this year, didn't like it. So based on that, and the fact that he says, I already own a 2824, he wants to get, I should clarify, the Tudor Black Bay with blue bezel and blue dial and ETA version.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's not the black dial version, my mistake. What do you go for, considering he likes to say he already has the ETA? Do you go straight for the Panerai, considering the price delta?
I go for the Panerai for 2 reasons. A, I'm a Panerai guy, everybody knows that, and the 510 is essentially a 111 with an in-house 8-day movement, so you get the classic look with the great power reserve. But really, the reason I go Panerai is because while the Tudor Black Bay is a very handsome diver, to the point where I really think I'm going to add one to my collection at some point, I think it's a classic look. And when you've got a Junkers, which is kind of like a Bauhaus minimalist look, and you've got a Speedmaster Moonwatch, which is another icon in watchmaking, I think the Luminor spins things up a little bit. No bezel, bigger Italian design. It's got more personality, in my opinion.
I also think the Panerai brand is really strong right now. There was a period in 2015, late 2014, when there was a bit of a softness in the market. But right now, the regard for Panerai is as high as it's ever been. And I think Richemont is committed to making it once more a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more prestigious, a little bit more boutique inclined. And I think that buying into Panerai now is a good idea. If you're going to go for one, I think that you're probably looking at a brand such that the rising tide is going to lift all boats, and as a 510 owner, you're definitely part of that club.
I definitely agree.
Okay, so now questions coming in, but I want to give you some alternatives. This is the thing. I want to make sure Julian realizes that he could also have some very cool watches that are large, sports-oriented, and definitely suited for real diving. Starting with the Pita Barcelona Steam. This is a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, we know that, and I love this watch myself, actually.
2,000 meters, 43 millimeters, it's bronze. It's also built by a card-carrying member of the AHCI from a company that makes no more than a few dozen watches per year. This is a great brand, a father-son brand, one of the few high-end watch brands you'll see out of Spain, and the relationship you'll have with the factory is second to none. So considering the price, $5,400 US, you've definitely got to consider it because it's in your wheelhouse and it offers a degree of exclusivity and originality, frankly, that you're not going to get with a mainstream brand. Oris Aquis Blue.
Fantastic watch, and one of the best value for money divers on the market today, in my humble opinion.
Always overlooked, but never out of the running. The Oris Aquis Blue gives you the opportunity to walk away. For less than the price delta between the Panerai and the Tudor, you could have the Oris and then go buy one of the others. I mean, this is how good a buy it is at $1,850 US. You're getting it on a bracelet. You're getting a 43 millimeter stainless steel watch with a ceramic bezel insert, a robust clasp with extensible bracelet. I mean, you've got all sorts of features that you would expect in a diver costing 3 to 4 times as much as this. And again, you've almost got the wiggle room to go and add another watch on top of it, given your stated budget.
Not to mention that pre-owned, Tim, these really trade for a great price.
Yeah, this is almost a watch. If you're looking at it pre-owned, this is almost a watch for the price of a really nice strap or 3 or 4 links of a Rolex bracelet.
That is very, very true. If you think of it that way, it really shows the value proposition, in my opinion.
And finally, another 2017 debut that we absolutely love. We're talking the 45 millimeter titanium Rado Hyperchrome Captain Cook. 2 Captain Cooks this year. This is the big modern one. This is a gorgeous watch, beautiful blue accents, titanium case, grade 5, guys. Rado not holding back here, giving it the CO7 ETA caliber that's automatic and an 80-hour. So you've seen it in Hamilton, we've seen it in Longines. This is Rado's version, and you're getting it in a watch that I believe is under $2,000, like the Aquis.
I believe it's $1,700 retail, to be exact.
I think the Captain Cook 37 re-edition is about $1,850, and this is right about there.
All right, fair enough.
That's a lot of watch for the money.
It's a lot of watch, and it looks fantastic. Talk about personality. I mean, this punches way above its weight class. It's got that pseudo-vintage look, which is so popular nowadays. But more importantly, it's got that pseudo-vintage look without lacking any of the actual tools needed to be worn as a tool watch.
I know there were some reservations about the 37 reissue. People are like, oh, well, that's a tiny Captain Cook in the vintage paradigm. You know, it's too small for modern taste. It's 100-meter water resistant. I want a more robust diver. You know, it looks vintage, but it isn't vintage. Well, guess what? The Hyperchrome Captain Cook 45 is the answer. It's never going to be mistaken for a vintage watch because of the coloration and the titanium case. 45 millimeters, it's big. 80-hour power reserve. You've got an interesting horological refinement that's not universal at that price range. And with 200-meter water resistance, it's double the Captain Cook re-edition. So a very robust choice. And again, I just think, Fed, if you're going to buy this watch, you've got enough bullets left in the chamber to then go out and get the Tudor Black Bay.
I totally agree. And I actually think this watch is going to sell exceptionally well, which I don't think I've said recently of any Rado model.
Yeah, this is going to be a special watch for Rado, and those can be few and far between, so we're really cheering for them. The folks from Langnau are really clever with materials, and in this watch they found a way to fuse their mastery of materials with a genuinely compelling and relevant design. So good on Rado.
Go Rado, go.
And by the way, I still love the true Stratum. That is my heartthrob Rado of 2017. Okay, question from Swags Wagner saying, Tim and Fed, thoughts on the Rolex Yacht-Master rhodium dial, the dark rhodium. This debuted in 2016. What are your feelings?
I love the Yacht-Master. It's very underappreciated. It's like a dressy Submariner in essence. The rhodium dial is very cool, but my heart is still warm for the original platinum dial with the red second hand. I think that's the best looking version. But I think Yacht-Master in general, Yacht-Master 1, not Yacht-Master 2, is a watch for the gentleman. Well, the namesake says it itself, Yacht-Master. You don't go diving, but you're riding a yacht, right? With the platinum bezel.
A mariner of the super surface persuasion rather than a submariner. This is one for the yacht club dinner or the deck of your yacht with enough water resistance that you're good to go if you fall overboard.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the dark rhodium dial was out at Basel last year. I saw it in person. I thought it was a special watch, and I'll be honest, it is my preference within the Yacht-Master 1 line. It looks the business, upscale, but not flamboyant, refined but not overwrought. To me, it's the best Yacht-Master, period. I know a lot of folks are into the complication of the two. Others prefer the overt personality of two-tone. But for me, this took the almost perfect platinum dial that Fed's talking about, platinum dial with the red accents, and sank the shot. So I like the new version. I think Fed likes the traditional platinum dial red.
But I'd happily wear the new version as well. I think it looks excellent. I just happen to love the platinum dial.
I'll tell you where the lingering relevance of the Yacht-Master 1 in the era of the Sub-C and in the era of the Yacht-Master 2, the lingering relevance of the Yacht-Master 1 is it's probably the most refined, elegant, and upscale 40mm rotating bezel Rolex. Maybe the most upscale rotating bezel Rolex, period. And that includes all your precious metal GMTs.
Absolutely. And actually, I've got a very interesting question here.
Yeah, definitely.
From Cecil. Tim and Fed. He wants to know, what is Girard Perregaux best known for?
I would say in the modern era, they are best known for two things. At the upper level, where it's downright difficult to access unless you have a high horology budget and high horology tastes, 3 golden bridges and the endless iterations thereof, including non-golden bridges that are nevertheless tourbillon. Separately from that, the Traveler series, the Traveler WWTC.
Absolutely. They make great world time watches, very, very handsome, and in a ton of flavors, in sport watch cases, in dress watch cases. I think that's probably what they're best known for.
The WWTC is what they're best known for. Since 2000, some iteration of that watch has been their flagship. And although I think there's a lapse in the WWTC line at the moment, I do believe that it is their modern icon. It's the complication for which they're best known. And I think, frankly, they did it better than anyone else. You can have it in time only or chronograph. You can have it even with cloisonné enamel dials have been done.
And you can get it in limited editions. My personal favorite is the financial WWTC, which tells you when the markets are open, which is rather interesting.
Which is great because it'll show you, if you're on the other side of the world, what overlap your daytime has with, for instance, London or Hong Kong or New York. I will also say this, you can get it in ceramic, which is spectacular, both white and black, and the white ceramic versions are really something special.
I've never actually seen one in real life.
They're phenomenal and worth the price of admission and worth the search. So I would say high horology in the complicated sense, they're known for that today. I think increasingly we'll come to know them as a manufacturer of very traditional upscale watches. I think they want to be Vacheron. That's the vibe I'm getting from them today.
I find them a little bit more adventurous than Vacheron. Like, you know, especially in their I mean, Vacheron's very adventurous once you hit a certain price range,
Yeah.
but I think Girard Perregaux is more playful in the lower ranges.
I would say certainly there has been a playfulness in the past. We'll see. I think there was a deliberate decision to take the brand, not so much upscale, but take a look at the price range and offer something a little bit more comely, refined, and gentlemanly rather than boisterous and exhibitionist at each price range. I like the fact that the Laureato is back as a regular member of the catalog.
As do I.
I would say realistically, while there's been a bit of a lull in the Hawks and the WWTCs, the Laureato is what they're best known for now.
The Laureato and the wonderful Laureato skeleton. Wow.
A really cool series, yeah, that just came out. So I would say that. Okay, so more questions coming through. Oh my goodness, this chat box moves. From Ali, questioned, what are good pre-owned watches under $3,000 that are not divers, don't have a chronograph, and are not pure dress watches?
There's a few. I'm going to go out and say the Genta-inspired IWC Engineer can usually be had around $3,000.
Okay.
If not under 3,000, maybe the new Bon Mercier Clifton collection. Those are not purely dress watches at 42 millimeters. I think they're a little larger.
I would actually come right out and say, I love the Rado Hyperchrome Ultra Thin from last year.
Yes.
To me, that watch was an absolute slam dunk. Absolutely stunning watch for the money with, like I said, that cool 80-hour movement, nearly scratch-free case, a wonderful thickness such that it sits like a limpet on your wrist, not a chronograph, not a diver, not a pure dress watch, and this year I also think the true Stratum, designed with Rainer Mutsch, is definitely in that category of an awesome all-arounder with a very innovative and distinctive design that will not be mistaken for something else. Finally, I would also say that there are quite a few Zenith Elite references over the years.
Yes.
That fit your description, available for under $3,000 pre-owned, neither diver nor dress watch, and certainly not chronographs. You have your choice of a broad array released since the 90s with real horological cred from the Zenith brand.
And also anything by Nomos. I
Yeah.
would say. Well, the Ludwig may be considered a dress watch.
There's some pre-owned Nomos models out there that are a very good buy that will fit that description. Not quite a sports watch, not quite a dress watch, good all-arounder.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Everybody wants a wristwatch check, Tim.
okay, wristwatch check. Let's do it. What are you wearing?
I'm
I'll
wearing
be your hand
something
model.
a little strange today. It is my Tourneau branded 7751 chronograph moon phase.
Okay, so we see the watch. What's the story behind the watch?
Well, it was made by a company called Walden International for Tourneau, and it was all handmade, hand guilloché. It's got a display case back. It's chronometer certified, and I was working at Tourneau at the time, and they just weren't selling well. I fell in love with it, and I got a great price. And I've been wearing it happily.
$77.50.
Yeah, I've been wearing it happily ever since. It's 77. Is it 51 or just a standard?
No, I think it's a modular. It's probably like a 7751.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, these things were selling. They were asking like $5,000 at the time, which
Yeah, honestly, a great watch. It's been a long time since I've seen a complete calendar moon phase 7750 variant. I actually thought at first that was a modular. That's actually a very interesting watch that's got a lot of horological cred, because back then you could still get a real ETA.
yeah, this is before the Solita days, before the Soprod days. We're talking
before La Joux Perret was doing its 7750 variant. Great watch right there, and a great story. So how many years have you and that watch been together?
Let's see, at least 7 at this point, and I very rarely wore it. I only wore it when I worked at Tourneau, but it's always been one of my favorites in the collection simply because it's got the weird cathedral hands and the moon phase with the painted smile. It's strange, and I like it that way.
I love the man in the moon face on a moon phase. That is so Swiss. I love that. So I'm wearing a watch that has a moon phase with no smiling face, although it makes my face smile. This is the first watch I bought at Watch You Want. I didn't actually buy it through Watch You Want, but I bought it pre-owned, and I felt like this Grand Memovox alarm and perpetual calendar, full platinum, no display case back. The case back is platinum, and I'd rather have it that way on an automatic movement.
As would I.
250 pieces. This one came out around the Y2K era, and I have to say, this is the watch that I wear most often during travels because the alarm wakes me up.
It's your favorite complication.
It is a great alarm. It is my favorite complication, the alarm, and the most useful. But it's also a watch that just everyone loves.
With that great dial, can you really blame them? I mean, that thing is sharp.
Yeah, this is the watch I wore most often in 2016. So this thing gets a lot of wrist time, and I figured it was time to break it out because it hasn't had a wrist shot, and it hasn't had its spotlight solo on this channel in a while. So, okay, guys, Jesse, I'm so sorry we went off topic. We freestyled a bit. So we're going on to Peter C's question. Okay, Tim, some internet experts are saying the JLC pre-owned market is weak from a seller's point of view. Comments about holding value and whether right now the brand's image is at an ebb. I certainly had a Reverso on my list. I currently own a JLC Master Compressor Memovox, a watch I love. That's always my sub $6,000 watch recommendation in any genre. And he also owns a JLC Master Control Calendar. But he says, I love them, but is there a better choice for a Reverso style watch? If I'm going to get a Reverso and I'm worried about the marketplace and resale, I have a great rundown of Reversos that you can buy pre-owned or new and still expect to get a pretty good chunk back when you decide to sell. So It's a mixed bag for the JLC market right now.
It is, but I don't see the brand being at an ebb. I think they had a great SIHH.
Yeah.
I think they're going strong. This particular internet expert, who shall not be named, is trying to sell a JLC himself, and he can't seem to sell it because he's priced it too high.
Yeah. I think
Let you
realistically,
guess who that one is.
I think that this is a brand that will always have absolute respect from people who
Yeah.
know watches. The moment-to-moment vicissitudes of the market or whatever, don't worry about that. This is a brand that will always have credibility, and no one ever says, oh, Jaeger LeCoultre, they're a great price point watch. They're great at every price point, from the
Absolutely.
entry level to the high horology. No one ever said a Ibris Mechanica watch gave up anything to Patek Philippe, and when you get into the JLC brand, you're part of that family of timepieces. So let me say, here are the reversos to go with if you want the strongest references in terms of esteem and resale by the market in general, not just the true believers among the watch nerds. The reverso, stick with classics. The Grand Reverso Ultra Thin 1931 came out at SIHH 2011, a modern monster. Everyone loved it, and everyone loves it. And there's also a U.S. boutique edition with a simulated aged patina dial and a Casafaliano strap. Talk a little bit about find that strap.
Good luck with that strap, guys. That's I was working retail when that happened. Those straps were so hard because they come with or without the Casafaliano strap. And I'm not a huge fan of this shell Cordovan kind of bootmaker strap.
But it is a hot item. You get
super
this.
hot.
You get this watch with that strap, and you can. I don't want to say you can name your price, but you will always have a hot ticket that people will be willing to take off your hands for what you paid for it.
Strap is going for $1,000 by itself.
Yeah, and this is a watch that originally retailed for $7,400, strap included. A great value. It's probably the best version of the Ultra Thin 1931. But if you want the sexiest version of the 1931, then you want the Grand Reverso Ultra Thin 1931 Rouge that came out in 2012. Boutique exclusive. Tell me about this monster.
We only got one in stock. I remember at that time. How many do you think
Where
they
were you
made?
working at the time?
I was
just so
working at
people know?
Vempe Jewelers, the #1 JLC dealer in the United States at the time. I'm talking selling 80 or 90 JLCs a month. And we got one in stock, and every sales associate basically jumped on each other. And like, it's for my customer, it's for my... It was hot. Super hot.
A steel watch with a true-to-history red lacquer dial. This is thin, fine, spectacular, and rare. It was for the ultimate in elite independent retailers like Vempa and JLC boutiques, and scarcely seen anywhere else. I've seen estimates that maybe 300 to 600 were made, so this is not something that was individually numbered, but it is a fact that it's rare. You buy this watch pre-owned, private sell it, you will get back what you paid for it.
Oh, you'll make I think you might even make a profit.
If you're going reverso, you cannot do much better than the Rouge, although I will admit, if you manage to fall into the green, British Racing Green, London Boutique edition of 26 pieces, this is the 1931 as only JLC and a strong UK persuasion can achieve. Yannick Delaskevitz, the design director of JLC, personally drew the design for the Houses of Parliament in Big Ben on the back, and that engraving plus the British Racing Green dial plus 26 pieces means that, like the Rouge, if you own it, you will not lose a cent if you decide not to own it.
But the problem with that one is you may find a Rouge after you look for a while, but finding a London Boutique Edition Reverso? Yeah, that like might be a lifelong pursuit.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy.
I've held every JLC high complication in my hand. I've never seen the London Boutique Reverso. But I will say this. If you like your color and you like reversos, the 2013, this was a boutique exclusive, boutique and elite dealer, Grand Reverso Ultra Thin Duo Face Blue is a great option. Plus you get the complication.
It's a beautiful dial. I think it's the first iteration of the Reverso that came with the new dial and the blue color. This was when blue was super, I mean, it still is super hot, but it was at the
Blue
peak.
is hot forever. This watch came out in 2000. It's got a slate gray blue dial. It's still hot. This is another watch like the Rouge that was true to history. Lacquer dial, so it's glossy and beautiful. signed reverso, so it's true to history, but when you turn it over, you get that second dial for the practicality of a traveler.
The practicality of a traveler, or if you just get bored, just have the second watch.
Sometimes a light silvery dial works better with whatever you're wearing. If it's Miami and you're wearing a white suit, flip it over to the silver dial. If it's New York and you're wearing a black suit, maybe pinstriped, flip it over to the blue dial.
Like the way you think.
Great minds think alike, Fed. So, of current production, I would say the class of 2016. Now, you got to remember, last year was the 85th anniversary of the Reverso. The entire line was all new or heavily revised. And the Reverso Tribute Duo, retail price $11,400, was, taking the temperature of the enthusiast community, the best received of the new models. So if you're going to buy new and you want to choose from the current catalog, that's your best bet to know that if you ever decide to sell, someone will want that watch.
I think these are just great examples. These are just the best examples of great reversos that I'm not going to go out there and say are great investments, but that should hold their value quite well. And I think there's easily a list of 10 others, like the Grand GMT. I think the 976 Black holds its value rather well.
There's also the Mexican market 976 Cenaceros. That's a great Grand Reverso. A few years back, you have to go back to, I want to say 2013, 50 pieces in steel, 10 in rose gold. A great artistically themed tribute to the Mexican artist. I want to say, I think it was like Guillaume Cenaceros.
Not entirely sure. My Mexican art history is a little rusty.
But a really cool watch. That's one to look for if you want to go back a few years, and that's a rare watch too. I would also say if you want to buy a non-rectangular JLC right now, you can't do much better than a Master Control steel black dial or one of the new Sector dial steel Masters.
Or even the Master Ultra Thin Moon.
That's a hot watch.
I love that watch.
That watch with a black dial. Oddly enough, JLC Complications right now, led by the Doctor Strange, have a lot of street cred because of the Marvel movies. If you know the Master Ultra Thin Perpetual, because of the Doctor Strange film, that watch has a lot of currency right now in both silver and black dial steel variants. Okay, so here's some great questions coming in. Okay, so guys, I need advice. This is from Trevor Phillips. I'm looking to buy my first Rolex, but I'm torn between a sub date and a no date. I love the symmetry of the no date, but the date is practical. What do you think?
Go with what you feel. This is just one of those things where you have to try both on, and a clear answer should come to you.
I will say this. If you've got the coin to spring for the 116600 Sea Dweller 40, you've got essentially a watch that looks just like a sub-C date, but without the Cyclops eye. It's a much cleaner looking watch, a guaranteed future collectible because of a short run and low demand during its lifetime. It's a Rolex diver that was rarely built, rarely seen, and discontinued quickly.
Definitely a future classic.
If you've got the money, that's the perfect answer to your question. Otherwise, I would say in terms of going with a no date, I would get a 14060M built between roughly 2007 and 2011 when it bowed out. You'll get the best bracelet that was ever included on the pre-super case no date. You'll get a watch that's recent and in great condition. You'll get it with the chronometer refinement that they didn't have prior to the C series.
Grade,
I would say that's the one to get if you're going to get a no date. Don't go with the C. It's nice, but you don't need that. Trust me. Get the more traditional watch. Get the pre-C no date after the chronometer certification was added.
And those are definitely going to spike in value as well, in my opinion.
That's like a 2007 to 2011 no date. Go with that one. Okay, so Jesse has another wonderfully pre-programmed set of graphics for the question asked by JS. I've been an avid viewer of your shows. Keep up the good work, Tim and Fed, and I was wondering whether you could help me pick a dress watch to round off my collection. My budget is about $20,000 US, so he's willing to spend for a very nice piece. He says, despite routinely wearing a suit, my collection is sports-centric. He currently has an Omega Moonwatch Gray Side of the Moon. If you know the Gray Side.
Beautiful.
Star of, I want to say, Basel 2014, took everything that the dark side was, added a platinum dial and a loomed tachometric scale. It's a more versatile watch than the dark side.
I agree. It's certainly less sporty, and It's easier to wear. It's more versatile.
He's got a well-rounded collection, though, because he's got a Milgauss GV for a watch that he can wear as a dress watch with a straight face. A Milgauss, although a little bit postmodern in its current generation, is very versatile with the clean, balanced dial and the lack of a Cyclops eye. Plus, he's got a Submariner Hulk, so he's got the all-green steel Submariner. I've always wanted to add a JLC to my collection, and one watch that I'm eyeing right now is the Grand Reverso Duo Face Blue. And I'll be honest, that was just on my list of best buys in recent pre-owned Reverso. So that is a watch that you can buy pre-owned for between $10,500 and $11,000. It holds its value well. He likes to have color. I like a flash of color on my watches, be the orange Lightning second hand of the Milgauss or the gray strap of my Speedmaster. If you could suggest a few other models I would consider, I'd be grateful. But just to round off his original question, if I were to buy the Duo Face Blue, I would be tempted to sell off the gray side of the moon. How much could I expect for the Omega gray side of the moon? I can definitely tell you that in terms of retail of $10,000, they sell pre-owned between about $7,000 and $8,000. Wholesale, if you were to sell it to a dealer, you'd get between $4,500 and $5,000.
And also, depending on the dealer, maybe even less,
yeah,
in my opinion.
I would say a good dealer that wants your business is going to pay between $4,500 and $5,000. Private sell it at $7,500. So that's what you could expect to receive. Fed, what do you think about swapping a Duo Face Blue in for a gray side of the moon, considering he's already got the Milgauss and he's got the Hulk?
I say do it. Personally, I like the gray side. I think it's very interesting. I don't think it's future-proof. I think we're going to look back at this ceramic kind of fad that we're having right now. I could be very wrong, but then again, the Duo Face is always going to be in style. Everybody knows I love blue. Everybody knows I love a Reverso, and it's blue Reverso. I mean, so it can't get much better than that, can it?
It's a wonderful watch. The Duo Face Blue had a short run. It's well loved. It's already a collectible, whereas the gray side of the moon helped to dilute the black side of the moon, and the gray side and the black side were in turn diluted by the ... side of the moon collection. You've got the black, the vintage black. You've got the white side of the moon. There are so many of the moon variants now that it's a watch you buy because you love to own it. It makes you feel great to own and wear it. It's not because you say, oh, this is the collectible Omega of tomorrow, because it's not.
I really don't think it is either. But even though the first watch that came to my mind when you were reading this question was FP Journe Chronomètre Bleu. that would be a fantastic dress watch for you, coming in just under $20,000.
It has a spectacular blue dial that must be seen to be fully comprehended. It has reactivity to light. It's not grained and it's not matte. It's hard to describe. It's almost iridescent. If you can imagine the iridescent blue of the late 90s electric blue dial Omega Seamaster, it's that blue. Moreover, it's got the beautiful gray tantalum case,
which matches the blue extremely well, and even the strap is a beautiful shade of navy.
And you flip it over and there's a rose gold movement. All sorts of color jumping out at you from that watch.
Yeah, tough to find, but I think take a look at it. It might strike your fancy, judging by what you have in your collection already.
I would also say this year, Jaeger-LeCoultre has a great master control, ultra-thin small second with a blue dial, and a new Reserve de Marche with date, power reserve, and blue dial. Consider those as well if you're in the JLC brand. Otherwise, I would never think twice about trading a gray side of the moon for a Reverso Duo Face Blue. That's just me. I'm a JLC fanboy, but legitimately, you're trading a watch that is broadly available for a watch that is not.
And also, it would definitely not be a straight trade.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There will be some cash involved. Okay, so questions coming in. Tim and Fed, this is from Jason Chen. I'd like your opinion on either the AP 15400 or Nautilus 5711. Proviso, he wants each in rose gold. I would like to know which one has better future value prospects and which would be a better heirloom for my children.
If we're talking purely value, forgetting what I like and what I dislike, 5711 is kind of the no-brainer for this one. Any 5711 holds value fantastically well. But rose gold, now that's a rare watch. I mean, when's the last time you saw 5711 full rose gold on a bracelet?
It's been a little while. I'm sure I have a review of one on the channels. I've got 2 channels now. But the bottom line is that you will see more 15400s. I would say the real question is, are you able to find a 15202 in a precious metal to bequeath to your children? Because that, in terms of collectability and long-term value retention, as well as I think market interest down the road and relevance to the next generation of collector, a 15202 in precious metal is a more direct comparison to the 5711, with one exception. The 5711 is much more water resistant. It's a real sports watch, whereas the 15202 is more of a sporty watch. But yeah, direct comparison, 15202 in precious versus the 5711. Of the two you list, the Nautilus by far.
Yeah, Nautilus wins that, hands down, in my opinion. Now, which do I prefer? That might be a different story, but future value, the 5711.
Yeah. Okay. JBO Surf asking, question, is there any vintage watch with small seconds and a display caseback for Nomos money?
Well, here's the thing. Vintage watches didn't really do the whole display caseback thing. That's started in the late 90s, didn't it? Or even the early 2000s.
There are quite a few late 50s, early 60s Omegas that fit exactly that description, and you'll find they all have manual wind calibers. I haven't checked the prices recently.
With display casebacks?
Oh, with display caseback?
Yeah.
Did he say he wanted a display caseback?
Yeah, that's the caveat. That's what I'm saying. The 90s, 2000s.
There is no vintage watch with a display caseback.
I mean, I'm sure you can buy a display caseback on eBay. They make them for all sorts of watch cases, but I don't think that fad started until the 2000s.
The earliest display caseback watches you're going to see are going to be like 80s Chrono Swiss, which might fit the bill for you.
And maybe, yeah, you're right.
You probably can pick those up for Nomos money.
Even less than Nomos money.
Yeah, so consider that. They're going to be very polarizing pieces. Chrono Swiss was never shy about bold design in their own style. You can thank G.R. Lang for that. He was a collector's collector, and he built watches in his own image. I would also say that there are quite a few modern watches that amount to vintage pocket watches cased up. So I'm trying to think if the Richard Page series, I think they were called the Rocket. They were spelled with W.
Yeah, but is that Nomos money? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what they cost new, but I'm almost certain if you find one on the secondary market, it would be Nomos money. But you got to be at peace with wearing a pocket watch on your wrist. It's not going to be petite.
Fair enough. If not, and I do not recommend this, once again, eBay does sell display casebacks for just about any model out there.
Yeah. Cost no object. There are several particularly grand complications you can have accessorized with a display caseback. I will say this. There might be some Blancpain models out there for Nomos money with the Piguet P71 caliber. If you can find something like that, you might find a watch with a display caseback. And I mean, what about the Blancpain 6002 with the Peso caliber?
Is that the 34 millimeter?
I believe it is, yes.
Closed caseback. We had one last week.
I've seen that watch with the display caseback, though. I would say, let me just check.
Gotta love Google.
6000. I'm pretty sure that you will have display caseback options here, but
I've got a great idea. Actually, one just came to mind.
What?
Chopard 1860 in steel with the micro rotor movement. 35 millimeters in steel.
Do you really think you're going to get that for Nomos money?
I'll tell you what. I bought the rose gold version and I paid $5,000. So if the steel version could be had for maybe $3.5.
Okay, I suppose.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe the market's gone up.
Okay, so I would say, I think, yeah, there is a Blancpain with the caliber 64. It's a Peso 260. I think you can get that. And it does have small seconds. I think you can get that for Nomos money. Keep in mind that Nomos money, if we're taking the Lux and the Lambda and the precious metal cases out of the running, Nomos money, we're going to say we cap that at about $5,000. I do believe you can get a modern era 90s caliber 64 Blancpain chronometer with a display caseback and small seconds for Nomos money.
Or check out Chopard 1860. Chopard LUC 1860.
Yeah, and I think you'll be very happy. It's also known as the Blancpain 7001, but it's the caliber 64-1. You'll be very happy with that watch. Okay, I don't know. Okay, Continuing with our program of questions, Lee C. asks, I'm a customer of Watch You Want, woo, interested in getting Panerai watches, recently got the PAM 88. Okay, he loves that, and he likes big watches. He's looking at a 45.5 millimeter Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600 meter, which is about $4,000 pre-owned. He is debating that versus a Panerai Luminor 1950 submersible PAM 305, so 47 millimeter submersible 1950 case, which pre-owned is about $6,000 to $7,000, or in a 44 millimeter case, a Panerai Luminor submersible PAM 243, which pre-owned is about $6,500. It's in the same price range as the 305. Understand the size difference. He gets it. He wanted to know our opinion on the Planet Ocean versus those two PAM options in general. And then what are our thoughts on the 305 versus the 343?
Well, I think the Seamaster is significantly, it's a more versatile watch. It's a more common looking watch, even though this particular one, it comes in a bunch of variations of colors. I think the Panerais have their own style. I think a 47 millimeter submersible wears quite large, to the point where I don't think I'd wear one myself. However, it depends. Do you want more of that vintage look, in which case you go with the 305, or do you want something a little bit more contemporary, in which case you go with the Seamaster? It's a tough call. I mean, what do you think, Tim?
What I think is that the 45 millimeter Planet Ocean is so thick that a wrist impression will immediately resolve for you whether you want that watch. It works better, in my opinion, in titanium because of the lightness of the titanium case mixed with the sheer size of the watch. I think it's a little bit overwhelming in steel. I do think that of the options he picks, the 305 probably has the most enduring value, and although it's not a thin watch because it is a broad watch,
Yeah, of course.
it has an elegance because of the aspect ratio of the case at 47 that you don't get in the PAM 243 and you don't get in the Planet Ocean. My pick for the Planet Ocean is always going to be the 42, which unfortunately is not much thinner. So I think the Planet Ocean looks best as a 45.5, it wears best as a 45.5 in titanium. And of the watches you mentioned, the 305 has the most elegance, although the largest case by far across the wrist in terms of breadth and width, you're going to want to wear that watch on a wrist with the size to balance it out. It's going to look overwhelming on a smaller wrist. All of these watches will, but if you've got a PAM 88, you already know the score.
Very well said. I think I'll leave it to that. I'll leave that for you to think about.
Short answer, I think PAM 305. Guys, thank you for joining us. I want to thank Fed for coming on out of sequence. Buddy, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Tim. My pleasure.
I want to thank Jesse for operating the switcher with a deft hand and an enthusiast's eye, and all of you for joining us live. Thank you for everyone who forwarded questions, everyone who took part in the live chat. Check out my Watch You Want Watch Reviews channel to get my old-fashioned wrist reviews, and follow Fed on Instagram, where Federico talks watches 24 hours a day. Thank you so much. This is Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on.
Take care.